Urbanism is the movement to make cities and towns more livable without the reliance on a car. First, we will discuss the holistic approach to urbanism and positive incentives to make cars no longer a necessity but a luxury. Then discuss why cars are terrible and forced on all of us beyond their really amazing use case, discuss how suburbs are completely anti-solarpunk, and then discuss incentives to end the need for cars. As Buckminster Fuller said, you don't change the system by tearing it down, you build something new and better to replace it. So I will first argue all the positives for urbanism, and then discuss the negatives of not embracing urbanism, so you can see that this isn't just taking away from you, but adding to your well-being and happiness, health, and community. I will also be name-dropping a bunch of different urbanist YouTube channels that you can check out in the below bar, as they have done a massive body of research and arguments for these topics. Part 1. Housing Design. Urbanism 101 is densification. So many people hear this and they think that we're all going to live in dystopian skyscrapers like in New York City. New York and LA are very rare cases in North America just due to their geographic areas and history. In most cases, buildings begin to get less energy efficient as they get to about 6 stories because they require so much of the building to be used as an escape apparatus in case of fires, as 6 floors is the maximum reach for a fire truck ladder. And that's at the top end. The best and most efficient buildings are 3 to 4 stories due to less escape infrastructure being required. They also don't block natural lighting and airflow nearly as much, so people don't have to use as much lighting and AC to compensate. So if you're thinking a Blade Runner skyscraper dystopia, relax. Pretty much no urbanists other than those in massive cities already want that, and they already have a lot of urbanism compared to the rest of us. The key phrase from YouTuber Edenicity is denser but less crowded. A well-soundproof 3-story block apartment built on a traditional R1 single-family zone lot can house 6 times the number of people, if not more. If it's a simple boxy shape, heat or air conditioning don't escape nearly as easily, saving the maximum amount of energy. Most people move to the suburbs to escape the noise and lack of privacy, but that's because most buildings are designed to make the maximum profit and not the maximum dignity. Literally everything you do in a suburban yard can be done on a collectivized park space with gardening, sports, and cookouts. So long as we design the city to have many parks within walking distance, you can do everything you can do in the suburbs. With less cars, cities are much quieter, as Not Just Bikes puts it, cities aren't loud, cars are, as many who lived in the city during the pandemic lockdown can attest. If soundproofing is a required standard, you won't need to know the ins and outs of what your neighbors upstairs are doing. If you're worried about the lack of nature and worried about the scenery, cities and densified suburbs can easily be zoned to have forest and animal corridors designed into them on one side and the streets on the other. It mostly comes down to political will and imagination. With much less of the land being used for driving infrastructure, much more of that land can be returned to nature. You can look out your front window and see a bustling street, and out the back window you can see 500 feet of forest, so that when the leaves are in full bloom, you can't see your neighbors behind you doing the exact same thing. Number 2, zoning and food infrastructure design. Under the current design, the norm is to have residential zones away from commercial zones. For most of history in towns and urban settings, this has not been normal because it's incredibly inefficient. Separating industrial from residential does make logical sense, but people need commercial buildings nearby or they have to use their cars. In an urbanist city, residential buildings are often classified as mixed use, especially the bottom floor, which can be used for businesses and stores, with the upper stories as multifamily living. In residential-only zones, one has to drive everywhere in the most inefficient and dangerous way, due to street designs, to get basic needs. In a mixed-use area, one can get nearly everything they want and need with no more than a 10 to 15 minute walk. Most of us can't imagine trying to get everything we need on a shopping trip just carrying it or having a simple cart, but that's because it's such a hassle to run over and pick something up if we forgot it. People living in mixed-use areas hoard less food and items, as picking up something down at the store is as simple as swinging by daily with a walk involved. More exercise, oh dear. Our deep freezers and big pantries are just replacing these stores because a shopping trip is such a hassle. When mixed use isn't allowed, large box stores are required to act as a warehouse so people can bulk up on items and take them back to their personal mini stores that use up a ton of room. When that big box store goes out of business, often it's designed for a specific purpose and it sits empty for a long time, and it's hard to find a business that fits that need. And its useless giant parking lot leads to increased flooding and heat trapping. In a mixed use environment, since shops are much smaller, they can be easily adjusted and changed, so businesses can easily switch out, ensuring there are few empty buildings, ensuring a constant dense tax revenue to keep the area maintained. Prior to the suburbs, edges of towns were all farmlands that farmers used to quickly send food to the city via trains. Now food has to be shipped farther and farther, so the food we get has to be bred or grown, which impacts the taste and nutrition levels. City edges could do the same with greenhouses for winter food, working in tandem with aquaponics for fresh fish. Mushroom growing is something that can be easily done on the edges or inside cities. Food forests, when managed properly, can in theory feed 25% more people than current agrarian land we have now. This, however, requires more physical labor for picking. However, unlike where crops are currently grown, there are more than enough workers in a city to do the job. Animals like chickens can even be allowed to roam the food forest, increasing their nutritional intake, the tree cover acting as a defense against predators and fertilizing the ground with their waste so long as they have a coop to sleep in at night. Using this system of food distribution, it's quite possible that a city could be completely self-sufficient in terms of food, flavor, and nutrition, and everything imported would be a luxury. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you wish to be a part of this project, want to create a logo for us, or want your Solarpunk art displayed discussing any of our main points of focus, please send everything to solarpunkusa@proton.me. There is also a Patreon link for my main channel if you like what I'm doing. For the first section involving community building, this channel will be run directly by myself. After that point, I hope to make this a collaborative project with many people involved, including voice, information, and editing, to make this a robust channel that can spread and grow.